Hello and welcome, and once again we are talking dogs on a Monday. We're talking Easter Cup, and I'm joined by two men that are more than willing to talk about dogs all day and all night. The Exile Dub joins me from his Youghal base, Tommy Lyons, the main man of the Irish Examiner, one of the lucky punters that's allowed to go to the track without a greyhound on the end of the lead. And the other man joining me is Declan O'Donoghue of the Sporting Press, who is also lucky enough to get to the track without a greyhound on the end of the league. We are in a very privileged position, lads, and for myself and Declan, certainly we were privileged over the weekend because the Ladbrokes Easter Cup kicked off, and it was a tremendous night's racing, Declan, with a temptation of far better to come. You could tell by one or two of these dogs they were blowing away cobwebs, but far better is to come in the next few weeks. We've got 24 top-class greyhounds remaining. We lost a few top-class, but just goes to show the strength of this competition that we're left with, the 24 we're left with.
Absolutely, and Great Name that was particularly good because it was his first run of the year, and a few other great dogs tried that, and I'm afraid they won't be there next Saturday night. So that of itself was an achievement. It was very good. I mean, straight away next week, New and Sheedy meeting again with Ballymac area. That's going to be a cracker, and the reverse traps, which will suit both of them, I would think. You know, that was a great heat. Yeah, it's been superb racing. And Auxerre in the last heat absolutely blew it wide open.
Yeah, Auxerre is he was a perfect example of a dog that's been racing very well, and he has been racing. He's race fit, hit the ground running the other night, and he just shows the benefit of having those few races under your belt.
Absolutely, he's in Shelbourne every Saturday night now, and of course he stays forever. So once he went up the side in front, the others were in trouble, and he's come into the mix now with the clock he did. He's certainly in the mix as well, you know, and he's a wide seat, so he probably keep getting his box as well.
He certainly will. Tommy, you were watching on from your country base. You enjoyed the action, I'm sure.
Yeah, it's funny what you said. It's exactly what I've been thinking about it. It felt very much like a first round, didn't it? You know, yeah. It felt very much like we're just coming back now, lads, you know, because there were like star names top to bottom. Like the depth of the competition is fantastic. There's very, very, very little missing off the list on Saturday night, you know. And now we had good performances, and the one beauty, and we went to talk about it at length last year, and it's the year I started. We're not wrong so far, Ian, but the bitches look exceptionally good. Seeing Billy Steve and Ballymac area win was brilliant. So yeah, it's kind of the start of the year we had hope, but I think as we Declan alluded to, and as you said as well, it's going to heat up an awful lot next Saturday night.
And you know what? It could have been better for the bitches. You know, Mina Miracle came out of trap 5 in a heat where Ballymac area landed the spoils. If she'd been in trap 5 in that heat, she would have been given the room of Shelbourne Park, the way New and Sheedy dived inwards. It's unfortunate. She just did a little bit of damage to her toe in her final gallop up the hill for Michael the other day. He was so disappointed, but he said it'll only be a matter of weeks. She'd be fine, and we're looking forward to a big year with her. But it's a shame that she missed out because the way it worked out, she'd have been certainly a big player in that contest. Lads, I suppose we'll start at the start. We might as well go through the heats, and then we'll sort of take a look and give our take on the action itself. The first heat, of course, well, it was one of the stars of last year, a dog that we are waiting for, not the penny to drop as such, but a bit of consistency to drop. New in session. I beg your pardon. I start.
Native
Maestro. Forget about what I just said. Native Maestro, a dog that really came to prominence in the Kingdom Derby towards the back end of the year. A dog that went, I think it was 7 unbeaten, suffered his first defeat in the final of the Kingdom Derby. But he's after shaking that off after a couple of very decent trials at Shelbourne Park. He showed a lot of class the other night, and a dog that will certainly come on for the run. You get the added pressure, which showed great early speed, cleared Ballymac Wild into the opening corner, and went about in the style of a greyhound with a very, very big future. He entered the back straight a length and a half clear of Boyle Sports Bingo. He was 4 clear by the third bend. That in itself is very, very impressive. A dog to keep an eye on the coming weeks, Tommy.
Yeah, very much so. Like, you can't argue with his record. His only defeat came in the Kingdom Derby final. I liked the way he stood up to a challenge on the first bend. You know, he had potential to kind of, you know, sometimes when a dog inside you or whatever, he had a chance to ease it. That's what he wanted to do. He was in good, determined form. I think it will sharpen him up a lot. If you know, Ballymac Wild kind of just got a little outpaced at the wrong time. Maybe not outpaced, maybe just a lack of sharpness or whatever. Got outpaced or left behind a little bit and flew home again. I thought Native Maestro was quite comfortable. He's a dog to be quite excited about. I mean, he did 29.85. He's going to dip down to 29.50s pretty quickly, and I'd imagine he'll do it before the end of the competition. It's pretty hard to crab the effort whatsoever. You know, he came out from top 5, he came across, had to be determined, did absolutely everything right. Everything was right apart from the clock, and I don't think particularly in a first round we should be worrying too much about what the clock was. So yeah, he's a player outright, all right.
Declan, from where we were viewing the action, I'm obviously a couple of windows down from you, but we're right over the 600-yard line. We got a great view of Native Maestro into that opening corner, and it was determined, it was classy, and it was just it was the type of manoeuvre from a greyhound with a, you know, that's going to play a big part in major competitions this year.
He was very good. I see the sponsor Ladbrokes have him 8-1 to win outright. And you'd have to say he's got a dream draw next Saturday night. I mean, he's got the best draw, I think, of any the major contenders left in it next Saturday night. He showed good pace up. He's a tremendous strike rate, which always counts for a lot. And he runs Shelbourne well. Yeah, as Tom says, you couldn't knock it. It was an excellent performance. Clockwise, I wouldn't worry too much about that. The times will all improve in the weeks ahead. And he certainly will, you know.
Yeah, probably hard to tell from at home, lads, but Declan will testify to it. It was strange conditions in Shelbourne Saturday night. There was gusty, you know, there was big winds for some races, not for some others, but it was just one of those nights where it was a sort of cool, windy night where, you know, the track could have been running faster at certain times, not so much the track as much the allowance for greyhounds to do fast times, but there was nothing wrong with Native Maestro the way he did it. Ballymac Wild, it was a great pipe opener for him, lost ground on the opening corner, lost his position. Other dogs may have just sulked and gone back through the field a bit quicker. He kept digging, he found himself back in second spot at the third bend, ran on well, and Boyle Sports Bingo, who's been running so well in recent weeks, he ran well in third, but again, couldn't really land a blow on the first two, Native Maestro and Ballymac Wild.
I think actually Ballymac Wild, I don't think Trap 1 is his box, to be honest. You know what I mean? And he did very well. He ran extremely well. And Boyle Sports Bingo got knocked sideways coming out of the box. He was crowded all over the place. Did well then to get second. I thought he might kick on better from there, but he came through and he qualified comfortably enough in the end in third. I think all three in that heat emerged with considerable credit.
Yeah, we've said it numerous times about Ballymac Wild. He's definitely a greyhound. If you were given a choice of trap, you'd always put the white jacket on his back.
Absolutely, yeah. But I mean, he can run from one, as we've seen. He can run from any box, really. Yeah. But it wouldn't be, if you had a choice, Trap 1 wouldn't be the one I should pick for him. You know.
But after my glowing introduction for him, new in session, took the second heat, a greyhound with immense ability. He's won 10 from 15 prior to Saturday night, so he's now 11 from 16, and yet we're talking about consistency. He just needs to get those 4 or 5 runs in a row through a competition, and with the benefit experience, the benefit of a bit more maturity, he could certainly go far at this competition. He had a tricky draw on Saturday night in Trap 5, but he made light work of the task, Declan, and hard not to be impressed with the way he went about it to the third bend. There's no question he will certainly come off the run, because he did look like, perhaps between the last 2 bends, like they were going to get to him, but he just kept sticking on. It was definitely better to come from him.
Yeah, I mean, his Lockhill Duke could have only paired. I mean, he's so much going for him, you know, and he has 10 wins. He runs the track well. You'd worry about him when there's 6 top class stars going together. They're the kind of races where he could be found out, but he will keep improving with age and experience. Sometimes dogs, when they do brilliant early runs, we think they're going to be that way all the time, but they can level off for a while, and then with time and experience, they get even better. It was a fine performance, and he will keep improving as he goes through, I would think, yes.
Yeah, Tommy, he's the type of dog that a bit of hardship in the past has been costly for him. He's going to have to toughen up a little bit in terms of when he's around dogs, but there's no question the ability's there.
Like, I suppose I should start by saying that I didn't think he had a particularly tough heat on Saturday night, so it was a good opportunity for him. So the fact that he won it in the way he won it, you know, it's the very least you'd expect. I don't think we learned an awful lot more about him than we knew last year, except that he's in good old heart. We said it before, he can be a top-class greyhound, but I was thinking the exact same as Declan. It's funny, I was smiling when Declan said it. I expect that, and I'd expect, even though it's quite a hot heat next week, that he'll come through it. Whether he'll win it or not, I don't know, but it's just a different story. I want to see him it's not that I doubt he has the ability or anything, but I want to see him do it when he gets deeper into these competitions. So, like, I mean, if you're going to be a punter, you got to be unforgiving almost, rather than the opposite way. If you love greyhounds,
overcritical rather than forgiving.
Not meaning to down the dog, but just trying to be hypercritical to find a reason why you're not going to back it, because you should always look for the reason not to back something rather than the reason to back it, because it's the nature of punting. You want to win. You want to spot the reason before the race instead of after the race. So look, I still have a few doubts. And that's not to say he could never dispel those doubts or get rid of them completely, you know what I mean, in the sense that he has that talent. But I'm just a small bit doubtful at the moment. I liked the performance. It was entirely professional, but it was nothing I would not expected in the company that he was in on Saturday night. You know, he was against amazing champs, Sweep the Yard, Blast Off Fire, Price of Jet and Chemical. It was the type of race that he could have dominated, and he did. So I'm no wiser. I'm not down on the dog because of the performance. I'm not excited by it either. I just think that's what I would have expected a new in session. So come on, next week, Glengar, Bale, and knock the bull seat. Let's show what you can do.
Absolutely. Amazing champ on a fine race to actually hold on for second spot. I thought from the angle Sweep the Yard was actually up, who loves the target. There's no question about that, Sweep the Yard. The pace he shows in the feet some nights is just frightening. He's not doing anything wrong, but he just loves to get in the mix, you know, so he really does fly when he finds himself behind in the early stages. But amazing champ is a dog. They'll have plenty of sport with this year. Very, very fast, very, very strong. No doubt he'll be stepping up in trip at some stage as well.
Yeah. He is good enough to. Yeah, he would prefer longer. Like Billy Steva in the next heat is very similar, but they're still pretty sharp over 550 as well. You know, and it was a good performance. And like the others, he will improve. You know, it's not easy to come behind. Once New in session is in front and clear, he's a pretty serious dog. You know, not too many are going to come behind him once he gets a clear one in front. So I don't think Amazing Champ could have done much better than he did.
No, absolutely. He's the type of dog that just with a little bit of luck, he could keep progressing. You could see him towards the end of the Easter Cup. On to Heat 3 and the aforementioned Billy Steva. She looked an absolute star in the making last year. She's just gone 2 years of age. Tommy, I know you're a massive fan of this lady, and all the talk was that you wanted to see her against Ballymac Ariel again. Well, you won't have to wait too long because they do meet the next night. But Billy Steva, she did it well. There's no question hello Mikey did show more early speed in her, and he looked a nice type of dog. In fact, he's a May 19 whelp. He's only a youngster. Showed good early dash, but Billy Steva, you just got the impression from the second bench she was going to get there at some point. She will definitely sharpen up for the run. I've no doubt she can actually go up a little bit better than that. Declan said she will stay further, but I think 550 yards is fine for her, and I think indeed in Bitch Company 525 yards would be fine for her. But she really is a talent, Tommy. I know you're a massive fan.
I feel like I'm trailing in behind the whole way. This is about the third time I'm going to say that. Something Declan said already is something I was thinking when I watched the race the other night. I thought, God, I was kind of a little bit annoyed because I'm a huge fan of Billy Steve, but I was kind of coming away from the race thinking, 575 would be no harm, 600 would be no harm. She absolutely just turned on the taps from about the last bend, and the way she strode out, her actual stride was just beautiful to watch. It was just effortless the way she pulled away. She only went by 3/4 of a length, but it was actually, I think it was much more impressive than that. Hello Mikey ran a superb race, as you said. She will sharpen up. And, against Bitch Company, just because of the pure class, she'd probably be fine to some degree over 525. We don't know the depth of the 525 bitches as, that might be coming through. We have a fair idea that they're pretty good. She is right out of the very top drawer. She's well worth keeping her company with the best of the dogs. Never mind the bitches at 550. Whether at the end of a competition like this or the Derby get down the line that should be able to actually come out on top, I'm not sure. But I came away from it as impressed from that run as I was with any of her runs last year. I think she's a real star.
Yeah, Declan, you'd love to have a leg at her.
Yeah. I think she is more middle distance though. I think at the very top level, and against dogs, she will need longer than 550. She's going to win an awful lot of races, and she's going to be a star all season for sure. She is. She's top class. But plus we're talking about potential Easter Cup winners. She'll be coming from behind probably in the final if she gets there. But look, as you say, she's outstanding. She's 4 from 12, which is but she's not running over her best trip yet. You know what I mean? And that is when we see her at her best trip, then she will be as good as any of the top dogs, I would think.
Yeah, of course. Listen, the evidence had been there. In all her massive runs, she was very good to the third bend, but it was from the third bend home that her clocks were just outstanding.
Exactly.
That bears witness. Pierno, I thought, ran a big race in defeat. He's a dog that I know he has a bit of age on his side, but I think he's very much a 2021 type dog. I thought he showed plenty of pace. And as we said, Hello Mikey is one to keep an eye on. I wouldn't be surprised if one or two people were interested in him. On now to the fourth heat of the night, and this was the fastest in terms of the clock. Great name, that. I was most encouraged by the way he took the opening bend. There was no easing of stride or anything like that. The dog was in his way, Mingler's Popeye, who once again showed that he's as consistent at boxes as any dog in training. He has tremendous early speed, but great name, that. Took him by the third bend. In fact, the third bend split was 17-24. That was great name, that. So, that's the 20-25 yards prior to the third bend. So, for a dog that's out of a TV trophy winner, and I know many of his comrades are real early pacers, but great name, that has it all. He's power and pace. 17-24, 29-53. He's a stunningly fast greyhound, lads. Declan, it was hard not to be taken by him, but we learned nothing new. We know how fast this greyhound is.
Well, we learned nothing new, but it was his first race of the year, and he was sharp as could be. He was superb. Bit of a mess behind him. Hello Hammond moved out, which took out Beach Avenue, who could have been a lot closer had she got a clear run, but you can't. The winner did everything right. He was superb, and we'll probably keep improving. He's a big player in every big competition in Shelbourne this year, I would think.
Yeah, Tommy, hard to disagree with that.
No, I tell you what he is. There's a kind of it feels like a bit of a Rolls Royce engine there. When he was in behind Mingler's Popeye, when he saw the opportunity to go by, he just switched gears and gone. Good luck. Like it was stylish, it was classy. I'm still obviously going to have my doubts about him, because we always have to try raise a few doubts about him, in the sense that getting around that first bend won't always be very easy when there's a lot of early pace in the race. You say his comrades, there's plenty of early pace in them. He doesn't seem to have a huge amount of early pace. But he's capable of doing a clock that any dog in the country can do. He's capable of doing probably the quickest. But I just love the change of pace. That's all. The change of pace is what really impressed me. We know he has it, so we didn't learn anything new apart from that. He is in rare form, and that's the reason I think he's anti-post favourite.
Yeah, Mingler's Popeye, I'd say he's the type of dog he'd be a joy to own. He's only beaten 2.5 lengths, believe it or not, lads. Like that.
Yeah.
When he's past when he was, you think, wow, he's a dog that probably is a little bit, or 3.5. He's a little bit flat down the back. But he starts and he stays, because he does get to that winning line. We saw him come from behind again, rallying in the Gold Cup one of the nights. Okay, it was a slow contest on the occasion, but he's just one of those dogs that could certainly play a part in this competition, because he's going to absolutely tear to the opening turn every single night.
It's difficult to see him win it, isn't it? To be honest about it. But because of his early pace, he can be a player in how the races play out or whatever. But he's a good dog. But I can't see him win the 550 stake at this level. Yeah,
Declan, you touched on Beach Avenue, got plenty of bother, did run on strongly, but that Hello Hammond showed an absolute buckets of ability, buckets of pace. He ran all over the place in 2 or 3 of the corners, but there's no question there's an engine in there. He's one to keep an eye on in the future. I wouldn't be backing out of trouble one, however.
No, and the unlucky one was Slippery Diva, actually, because we got into her, and she's in great form. She couldn't have come into it in better form, and she's just knocked over the first bend. So that's greyhound racing. Look, there's a long season ahead. There'll be plenty more nights for her, but she was unlucky. Beach Avenue though did well to recover from what happened, and she's in form and she stays all day. Perhaps a bit of a Billy Diva, will be at her very best, probably over a slightly longer trip, but she must be respected very much.
The 75-pound dog, Declan.
Oh yeah, but what I mean
you just
is,
don't expect to see him turning up in the Oaks, right?
But he is he has gears.
Yeah.
No, he has.
As I referred to him last week, I said he's probably one of the most versatile dogs in training, because you can run him over any trip. We saw him running well in the Laurels. We've seen him winning over 750, and every trip in between. You'd imagine he'll certainly do himself justice. He's one of those dogs.
It's the also Mingler's Popeye has the one gear that he doesn't have.
Yeah, the flying start, yeah, the early speed.
Yeah.
Okay, on to Heat 5, and well, there's certainly a greyhound with gears in this. Knocknabull Sid, ever the professional. When he hits the lids, lads, he's very hard to beat. When he gets around that corner in front, he just keeps going. I never thought he was a dog that would really stay 550 that strongly, but he just keeps rolling. And very impressive tonight. His 10th career success, 10 from 24. There's so much to like about him. He just got around the corner. Golden Tiger showed good early speed, and I thought Golden Tiger ran a big race in defeat. Glengar Bale just got a little bit lost around the second and into the third. I think I'd probably have him a bit further out. I wouldn't mind swapping himself and Knocknabull Sid in traps 2 and 4. I'd have Glengar out in 4 and Knocknabull in 2, but by all accounts, the three of them ran well. George Duke got a bump in the corner. He was the only sort of unlucky runner in the contest, but this was about Knocknabull Sid, his professionalism. He made every inch of the running, and he looks a contender. Sorry, Tommy.
Yeah, professionally, that's exactly the word you used, and that's exactly what it was. He popped out. He only barely got the bend now. The Golden Tiger ran some race to come up the inside, and actually was forced to check at the bend, and to probably lost the ground and might have cost him a chance of winning the heat. Glengar Bale was a small bit flat in a way. Like, there was never any. You never thought watching the race that Glengar Bale was actually going to get into the race. You know, from once Knocknabull Sid got around the bend in front, and Golden Tiger looked like he might lose second at one stage, to be honest about it, but it actually ran very, very well. It's just, it's Knocknabull Sid is a dog I struggle to really put a cap on in terms of what it can or can't do. I don't go into the likes of this competition thinking Knocknabull Sid is going to win it, but I know if I'm going to take him on, it's going to be dangerous enough. Again, he's a bit like a Mingler's Popeye, maybe stronger over 550 than Mingler's Popeye, but he's still a dog that's going to get in the way in some ways. If you were looking from a punting point of view, like, he's kind of a dog that's going to be, he's going to be a thorn in your side because he has that early pace. He probably, that was a fair run on the clock and the whole lot. So I don't know how much more he's going to improve from it. He might a little bit, but I still don't have him down as a likely winner of it. He's out in a tricky-ish draw next Saturday night. So it'd be interesting to see what he'd do when he's bumped early, maybe, or if he's stuck in behind early, which is possible next Saturday night. I'll reserve judgment on him at the moment. At the moment, I would say he's not my idea of a likely winner.
Declan, I wrote my card on Saturday night, Toaster. I think he'll be suited to the English Derby once again. I think he's the dog that will really take the place. Good early speed, gets to the front, and he's hard to pick up, and he won't let you up his inside at any point. I just think he's a dog that will really run well at Toaster. And in terms of the Easter Cup, is he in your mind?
Yeah, well, he came in here with recent Shelbourne form, and that's a big plus. And he came out and he was gone. He is a good dog. I agree with Tommy. He wouldn't strike as the eventual outright winner, but it could happen. It could most certainly happen. You know what I mean? The other two dogs ran well. Golden Tiger, I thought went very well. Glengar Bale, I wouldn't mind too much. His trial was in Limerick. He just looked a bit out of place early on, got into the race well. I would expect huge improvement from Glengar Bale. I would think straight away, perhaps next Saturday. Golden Tiger, when you look at him, he's got everything. He could be a Shelbourne dog. That could be the key to him. His strike rate isn't quite what you'd want, but you must remember he's racing at the top level all the time. You know what I mean? And he's taking on good dogs all the time. I thought all three emerged with credit. Should progress further. But I would be inclined to agree with Tommy. I'd be surprised if the eventual winner was in that heat.
Yeah, that said, if Knocknabull Sid got 2 or 3 in the final, you certainly wouldn't be putting a pen through him, because all it takes is one flash start from him. And as we know how hard he is to pass. Glengar Bale, it's worth pointing out, he does a 29.15 in his card for 550 at Shelbourne Park. He's certainly entitled to come on for the run the other night, both in terms of sharpness and fitness. On now to the 6th heat, and this was Paddy McKingdom was a dog at the start of his career. We said, he doesn't have the early, and that's why he was getting the bother, and his confidence was shot. And he's really matured into a greyhound of in the last 6 months or so, winning the Corn Cuchulainn. He was the dog that came out of lockdown in absolutely flying order, winning the Corn Cuchulainn, running so well in so many competitions, the Legend Derby, winning, of course, the Shelbourne 600. The other night, Glenlara Mac is a dog with splendid early speed. He flashed out of boxes, and all of a sudden, Paddy McKingdom arrives on his inside at the opening corner, caught me unawares nearly, and wins well. Time wasn't particularly sensational, but was a fine display by Ballymac Kingdom, the greyhound, with unbelievable versatility. Again, when it comes to the business end, perhaps to be one or two too sharp around them. But, 14 now from 30, he's a fine greyhound, Declan.
He's an incredible dog. He's a very versatile dog. He's open class 600, open class 750, and we saw the other night he's open class 550 for sure. He is. I mean, we knew that already. I take your point. We're again talking Billy Seaver, Beach Avenue type dog here. He really 600 yards is his best trip, I would think. Mind you, he'll take beating in the Coca-Cola again. no doubt about that. But look, he's in this. He's very much entitled to be in it. He's running great. Never runs a bad one. Can run from any box. Yeah, big chance.
A dog you can't dismiss, Tommy, but at the same time, you would expect one or two to be too sharp for him.
I think that was that. I'm not sure how many runs he's had over 550 around Shelbourne Park. It was a fair performance. I was a bit like you. I wasn't expecting him to show that early pace. And in fact, sometimes when you see that, you're a little bit disappointed with the other dogs that he was able to do that, because he didn't break particularly well. And you're thinking a dog that's a 750 dog, a real strong stayer. Like we saw, he did everything you'd expect from the last bend home. He left Epic Hero behind to the tune of about 4 lengths. You kind of expect that to happen, but I'm just a little bit surprised that he was able to show the pace to get up the inside and quite comfortably. It wasn't that he had to squeeze his way through or he had to give a shift, a bump or whatever else to get around. He just did it quite cleanly. So I'd rather give him credit for a good performance, maybe than knock the rest of him, because he couldn't do any more than he did. Again, a type of dog now will has a different challenge entirely next week. He's out in trap 5, and what he'll do from there, I don't know. I don't think it's a red hot heat that he's in next week, but I'd just be interested to see what he can do out of trap 5 at this level over this trip. We know what he's like over 6 bends. Epic Hero, fine run.
Yeah, it was because we know what Epic Hero is. When he hits the lids, he's very hard to beat. Didn't get the start. His first run since the Ledger final. So certainly entitled to come on for the run.
I think he got a reasonable start actually. Epic Hero just didn't. He kind of showed a solid pace throughout the race without ever showing anything that was a little bit extra. And maybe that's just kind of the first run, as you say, and that he'll come on. But I got the impression looking at that it would take more than one more run to get him to where he needs to be.
Yeah, perhaps. Night Tornado did go out, but he showed an awful lot of pace into that third bend, lads. But we did hint, Tommy, in our previous show this year that if he's going to be winning over 550 yards, he's going to need to lead on that opening corner because it's going to test him.
Yeah, exactly. And he just missed it and was never involved. He was never involved. He went to go inside and then he went to go middle and then he showed pace. He actually showed a lot of pace up. Now that said, we are adding the proviso that it wasn't a race with a huge amount of early pace, but he did show plenty of dash, as you said, and he showed it again down towards the third bend. So not a run that is anywhere near as bad as it looked finishing 5th. So yeah, encouragement to be taken from the run.
Declan, your view on those behind Ballymac Kingdom, Epic Hero, Glenlara, Mac, Night Tornado?
Well, Epic Hero's record is there, ran well. I think they all ran well, but they're coming from behind a top class staying dog, which is simply not going to do. I mean, if Ballymac Kingdom leads you in Shelbourne, it's good night. So, to qualify, Epic Hero ran well. He's a legend, and he's a good dog. Ran well. You'd be pleased with him.
I want to take you both up on something.
Go ahead.
Ballymac Kingdom is the best 600-yard dog in the country that gets 750. I don't think he's a 6-bend dog. I think he's a 4-bend dog that gets 750. I think he's a really, really class animal. I don't think there was a dog in the land that would have picked up New Win Session over 600 yards that night in the Winter Racing Festival. I think he's a really, really built for 600 yards, because you saw the other night the way he raced into that corner. I think there's very few that would even match him over the distance. On now to the 7th race, and this is one I have no problem talking about. Ballymac area got up to land the spoils from New Win Sheedy, and it just got a bit muddled earlier on. Obviously enough, New Win Sheedy dived for the fence. We had seen him do that once or twice last year, not every night, but just it seemed that whatever way he landed, he was just going left, and that just paid straight away. You can rule out Duchet Sydney and Deadly Destroyer. They never really got a chance. At the same time, Ballymac Ariel takes a step right. I think she'll be a middle runner for the in the foreseeable future. She did get a little bit sort of startled nearly by seeing the dog coming across like she did, and she lost a bit of ground around the opening 2 bends. And she's 3 or 4 lengths behind New Win Sheedy, and she races up to the 3rd bend, picks him up around the outside, and goes on to win comfortably. You'd imagine she'll come on considerably for the run, but it was once again proof of her undoubted talent. She really is a bit special for me.
Yeah, we talked at length last year about her. I mean, from the very start, when you trial sub 28 seconds, there's a bit of expectation on you, isn't there? Like, and the real beauty of it is that she's showing it again. You know what I mean? She's carrying it through. She's not shirking it. She's showing that ability on a regular basis. This was a kind of a step up, into real hot company and up to 550 yards. Perfectly fine in the sense that the top wasn't there, but she did step right, as you said, and the new Sheedy came in. It just got a bit tight early. He had the early pace to leave her behind. It was 3 or 4 lengths. She made it up quite well. Third dog, not sure how you pronounce the prefix on that.
Drumduet Bermuda.
Drumduet Bermuda. That showed a lot of pace too. That was probably arguably finishing as well as anything in the race.
Just while you were on the subject there, a big shout out to Rebecca Porter and Alan Byrne, who have Drumduet Bermuda, a young couple. Rebecca just had her first child there in the last couple of weeks, baby Matthew. Big kudos to them. Her father Reggie is a regular correspondent with myself, constantly texting me, never leaves me alone, to be brutally honest. And he said they're absolutely mad for dogs, but now they're also mad for the baby. And he said they're a great couple, and best of luck to them. I thought Drumduet Bermuda ran a blinder for them, but getting back to it, Ballymac Ariel and Ewan Sheedy.
Was that a veiled call for help, like to the guards or something? We're getting stalked. No, yeah, Drumduet Bermuda ran a superb race, actually. I didn't really know much about the dog, to be quite honest, but again, this is what we said at the very start. This was a real typical first round kind of effort from Ballymac area, from New Sheedy. It just had the feel of that type of race. Deadly Destroyer, Dear Destiny, you can just forget about those. That was a bit unfortunate the way it worked out. I love Ballymac area. I think she's an absolute star. So I'm just looking forward to seeing more of her. You know, I mean, I learned little from last Saturday night's run that I didn't already know. I'm hoping for fireworks every time she runs, so I'm sure she won't disappoint again.
Yeah, it was just nice to see her running in all age company against the dogs, Declan, and doing what she did. Like, even though it wasn't the cleanest of races, and she had to work for it, it was just once again a sign of her class. Like, she's April 19, she's still a youngster. Like, she's not due for another couple of months.
I thought it was a stunning performance, because all the more credit to her that it was such a funny heat, because New Sheedy, I didn't realise myself that he was that obsessed with the rail, and Magical Cormy moving across, I've never seen before. So it was a very strange heat, one we couldn't have foreseen that way. I think New Sheedy ran a cracker, by the way. I thought in the Derby last year, he just lacked experience. Nobody's fault. We had the lockdown, the late Podio Stakes, and he just had enough experience. He's all the experience in the world now. I thought he ran very well too. But Ballymac Ariel was simply brilliant, and she's much better draw next week in 4. And she is a major player. Forget the clock. It was a messy heat from the start. The ones that went out were unlucky, didn't get a run, but a top class winner.
Yeah, New Sheedy, he is 29 on his card as a youngster in Shelbourne Park, 4 to 550 yards. He's out of New Boodles, who just happens to be a sister to New Taylor, I think. Could be wrong, but I think that's the case. On to the final heat of the round, and here we saw Auxerre, the dog with a bit of race experience in recent weeks. He's been running exceptionally well over further 575 and 600 yards, but on Saturday night it was something a bit different, Declan. This was a bit more. It was a bit more of a driven display. It was, he got racing so quickly. Once he hit the ground running, like, he took off into the opening bend. Now, I've no doubt the likes of Ballydoyle Valor and Ballymac Cooper were certainly needing the run, but he comfortably led this field. Never looked in any danger. He was just one hell of an impressive winner. And if you'd just been dropped in, you didn't know anything about the rest of the dogs or any of the dogs, and you were just there in a one-off night, you'd go, wow, he's a major player in this competition.
Absolutely. Once he led, those of us who see him running every week, once he led, we knew it was over. And that's how good he is. And he's a bit of a Ballymac Kingdom as well, So once he's in front of you, you're not going to reel him in. He was perfectly drawn, match fit, everything going from, but he did it. It's superb, and a career best probably, and arguably the best performance of the first round.
Yeah, it was a career best, no question about that. 17.25 to the third bend. Only one greyhound went faster. Great name, that. That's fair going. Like, that 17.25 would have stood up to a lot of the Derby heats last year. And considering the track then to now, it was certainly slower on Saturday night than it would have been during the Derby. It was a hell of a run, Tommy.
It was, and it'll be a hell of a run next week if he can repeat it, because he's got quite a hot heat with Ballymac Wild and native Maestro Ballymac Cooper in the same trap, and him out in 6. It was good. The only thing I would say was that, well, he was going to win it. He was going to win it the first bend regardless. But the 3 dog was just inside. In Chasing Belfast was just inside Ballymac Cooper and was just maybe preventing Ballymac Cooper getting around that bend quite cleanly. Now, I don't think it made a difference to the results. It might have been a slightly more competitive race. But I was like that. I mean, I came away thinking, wow, that was a nice performance from Oz there. Right. I think he's a smart dog. Again, a dog that will probably do the likes of that in these competitions without maybe going on to win it.
Yeah.
The way I'm being harsh there in the sense that I'm thinking that the whole thing about the round or any round is that it's what's going to win it outright. If you own the dog like that, you'd be delighted. He's after winning about 6 races or something out of 22 or 3.
I don't know if you know Ollie Shields. Do you know Ollie Shields, Declan? He's a great character. I'd say he's still grinning to this moment. He's a real jovial character, and I actually was talking to David Matthews yesterday, and I said, any chance you get Auxerre back? And he said, no, Ollie's more than happy with him. I think we have to lose in Declan for a moment, Tommy, so we'll proceed anyway. Ballymac Cooper ran a good race in second spot. He has a bit of age in his side. He's not getting any younger, but the engine's still there. It was a decent run in defeat, and Monbeg Zinzan came from out of the clouds. He's a greyhound to keep an eye on for perhaps in the future.
Yeah, exactly. Over further is right. He is. Tom's Delight, actually, the Auxerre's dam has been. She's produced some serious greyhounds over the years, hasn't she? Like, she's been numerous litters. Ballymac Cooper ran fine, but as you said, he is September 17. So I mean, we've probably seen the best of them. The only thing I'd say when I say that, I add the fact that Liam Dowling is brilliant at keeping them fresh, and his dogs tend to last quite a long time. It's a testament to him, to the way he trains, that they can produce at a very high level right up into their 4th, 5th year. You know what I mean? So I wouldn't rule out that there's big runs left in Ballymac Cooper. Whether there are big runs that will win a stake, you know, is a different story. He's been a smashing greyhound for him. He's already won 15 races. He's not going to be an outright player in this, I don't think, but certainly there's big days left in him in terms of plenty of wins anyway.
Yeah, Monbeg Zinzan then finishing 3rd. Ballydoyle Valor, he's near veteran now at this stage. He'll be 4 next month. He was showing plenty of pace into the 3rd bend and just blew up a bit. Which would suggest that there's still an engine there. They might get another few nights out of him, but time isn't on their side. He will be 4 next month, as we said. Yeah,
I suppose it's we lost a bit of time last year, and then you've got to consider that we still don't know what's going on in the world at the moment, and there's talk of coming out of lockdown. There's talk that it's going to take a long time to phase it out. People just don't seem to know where they are, and there is a lack of confidence amongst people of getting out there into the community again. They're afraid. Most people aren't afraid for themselves whether they're going to pick up COVID or not. They're afraid of giving it to elderly relations or people who might be sick or vulnerable. So people are just a bit cautious about everything they're doing, and I think that's reflected even in the way the greyhounds are being trained at the moment. I know they're a great thing to distract people, to keep at the kind of working with them, but they just don't know where they're going with them. So there's just kind of that little bit of caution. A lot of dogs you're looking at there last Saturday night thinking, maybe that's just a little bit short, or maybe that, it's another few runs or another few weeks that needs now. And maybe just the fact that they've gone into competition, gone back into Shelbourne Park, that they are just going to build up that bit of confidence, say, look, we're let's kick on for 2021 now. Look, this is the sign. And we're only a few weeks away from March when we will get some degree of clarity. So having greyhound racing through the last number of months has been a saviour. But I still think there's been a little bit of trepidation there amongst people. I know people who could potentially go to the track in Youghal here, and who aren't. They're sending somebody else because they're just afraid themselves. So there is. I say, let's not take. So the
suggestion is 1 or 2 of these dogs had a 250-yard gallop instead of a 525-yard trial, and just that little bit of extra fitness perhaps isn't there.
Yeah, well, because people themselves, not so much that they were worried about their bringing the greyhounds. They'd be delighted to bring their greyhounds racing, of course, but just themselves are just not sure about whether they want to go or whatever else. So. I suggest that like it's been a funny year in all aspects, and I just think that things will settle down in the next maybe month or 2. So this stake may be a case of getting through it and seeing what happens and how things develop before it really, really settles down. But thankfully we have a top class competition to get us through the next few weeks.
Yeah, you may notice Declan's back from making his cup of tea. We're going to take a look at the draw, Declan, for the quarterfinals. We'll start where you normally would start, Heat 4. No, Heat 1. Heat 1. And we have obviously mentioned all these 6 greyhounds in our brief chat. Beach Avenue 1, Glengar Bale in 2, New in session 3. Hello, Mikey in 4, Knock the Bull in 5, an amazing job in 6. A combination of everything here. You've got staying power, you've got early speed, and you've got the likes of New in session who has it everywhere. It's an interesting contest. Much will depend on the likes of where Glengar Bale, New in session, and Knock the Bull find themselves after 5 strides. Declan, what's your take on the opening heat?
I would think Glengar Bale will show big improvement, and will lead to, obviously, from last week, but I think he will. New in session is on trial here. This is a tough one for him. If he is progressing, he really should win this. He probably is the best dog in it. You know what I mean? Not Nabul Sid from 5. Again, he's got to do everything right. He's got to go up. Now, Hello Mikey is very interesting. He's very inexperienced, first of all. Do you know what I mean? But potential-wise, he is potentially as good as any of these. And Beach Avenue, an amazing champ, will be in the mix and will be coming home very, very strongly, and are pretty well drawn. You would say it's a wide open one. If you put a gun to my head, I would say perhaps New in session will make all.
Tommy?
I'm quite keen on New in session here because I do tend to crab the dog a little bit because of what we've seen in the past, but I do think he's seriously good. Glengar Bale is the real question mark. Where will he be? Declan says he's going to improve a ton. He probably will, but I don't think he's a really, really sharp dog at the best of times. He's not always a really fast breaker anyway, even when he's at his peak. So I'm going to take a chance that New in session looked sharp the other night, will be a little bit sharper too next weekend, and that he can lead it. Knock the Bull Sid is going to be up there, but he's going to be on the outside. Hello Mikey did show that early pace. That means that he can get in the way of anything, in the sense that he's able to compete with them. I don't think he's ready yet to win. He's had very few runs, and like Declan said, he's a real prospect. But this, you're going into Derby dogs, proper Derby dogs now next week, and they're all around you. There's no hiding place next week. So I'm actually quite confident New in session will come out on top.
Yeah, I have to say I'd be pretty happy now if this was a classic final, because there are 6 really genuinely good greyhounds. I know Beach Avenue, amazing champ, probably went a bit further, but proper greyhounds here, and that can be said throughout the heats. I think Glengar Bale, if he hits the lids, will be hard to beat, but I do think Knock the Bull Sid's presence out in 5 could make this complicated, because if he does hit the lids, no question he's going to be edging across into that opening corner. Things could get a little bit tight if the likes of Glengar Bale and New in session are trying to improve their position at that point. An interesting heat, a fascinating heat. Not a massive betting heat, I'd imagine, for those that are trying to find a definite view. On to the second heat on your card. Boyle Sports Bingo 1, Pierno in 2, Epic Hero 3, Golden Tiger in 4, Ballymac Kingdom 5, and Glenlara Mac out in trap 6. If Ballymac Kingdom was in the inside, lads, he'd be short priced. He's not on the inside. It's a very different heat to last week. Epic Hero, just don't be surprised if he did hit the lids and produce a much better run this week. But, it is an interesting heat where you can't rule out any of them, to be honest, Declan. Even Glenlara Mac on the outside looks likely to get a clear passage, and he has good early speed.
Glenlara Mac will get a run on the outside, definitely. I think Epic Hero, it's now or never. If he's going to be a top Shelbourne dog, this is the heat where he can show it. This is the heat where he can do it. He has every chance. I fancy actually Boyle Sports Bingo, where he's drawn. If he will get a run at him at some stage. Knows the track very well. Is in good form. I think he could swing a surprise here.
Yeah, I just noticed in this contest that Pierno and Epic Hero, this is the first real instance of the guarding not happening. You've got 2 Ger Hutton trained greyhounds, both trained by Tommy O'Donoghue, kennel companions, and they're side by side in traps 2 and 3. Wouldn't happen in a normal instance. I would say Tommy would have taken it the other way around, Epic Hero in 2 and Pierno in 3, but at the same time could get involved. Tommy, what's your take on it?
I would too. I'd prefer if Epic Hero was in 2 personally. As I said already, I think Epic Hero is more than a run away from being at his best. I can understand what Declan says, because it's not a red hot heat. It's a competitive heat, but not red hot. And if you were a ledger winner, you probably ought to be winning it. I'm just not convinced he's just ready to do that yet. So I'm with Declan. I think Ballymac Kingdom is going to get a run at him here. I think he has the pace, even if the draw is completely different. He has the pace to stay close enough to let his stamina kick in and win the race, because I do think it could be quite messy. They're all they're all of a similar kind of ability, and I can see them all around the first couple of bends being in similar positions. So there's going to be a little bit of bumping, and the dog that stays strongest will probably win. So for that reason, I go for Ballymac Kingdom. I think Epic Hero. I just hope he qualifies, because I think he's going to step up again.
Yeah. I think I'd take a chance on Epic Hero just from the draw. He's on the inside of Ballymac Kingdom, and I thought if he led Ballymac Kingdom, it would be some run from Ballymac Kingdom to pick him up. On to Heat 3. Go ahead.
I'm just not sure he can lead on Saturday night. I'm not. Well, I didn't see enough the other night. I've seen his Ledger wins, obviously, Ledger runs, obviously. I just didn't see enough the other night to think he can lead, and that's what's holding me back from saying that. If you thought he was really, really fully sharp, you'd say he was probably in that. But I'm just not convinced yet.
No, that's fair enough. On to T3, New Sheedy in 1, Great Name That in 2, Billy's Diva 3, Ballymac Ariel in 4, Mingler's Popeye in 5, and 6 is Drum Do It Bermuda. An interesting contest. Obviously, the two bitches lined up side by side in 3 and 4, but Great Name That is there, and New Sheedy up the inside. Mingler's Popeye's going to fly up. This would definitely be fitting of the final itself. This is just one of those races, Tommy, where it's hard to pin your hopes on anything here, really, because anything could happen.
Yeah, you go to Declan first for the first two, and then you come to me.
Sorry.
Nice fella. I honestly haven't the clue. Only I know the Great Name That it have been drawn inside Billy's Diva and Ballymac Ariel. He has enough early pace to hold them to the first bend, and that's going to be key, because they are power packed, both of them. And New Sheedy is going, if it goes up like it did the other night, it could be a bit of an issue, but what you have to do is try visualize where they'll be around the opening bend. I think Great Name That can be close enough. I think he can be in the share of the lead at least, and he's just a phenomenally fast dog. I'm not saying that I want to back him as an outright favourite to win the competition, but I think I'd take a chance that he'll win this heat, just because he has loads of experience against this type of level of competition, in this depth of competition. I'll marginally side with him, but it's just an absolutely superb race. One we'll be watching over and over again. We'll probably overanalyze it next week, because we'll be trying to find out how that happened, or what we were slightly disappointed with. I'll go with Great Name That, I say, but by God, those two bitches are exceptional, and I won't be sorry if they finish first and second.
Yeah, Declan, we've seen worse classic finals than this.
Absolutely, yeah. And actually, your friend Drum Do It Bermuda has a good chance of qualifying again. Ideally drawn. Minglers will break and move in. Ballymac Ariel will go up. So, he can just, if he stays out of trouble at the outside, every chance that he stays forever, he could qualify. However, to pick the winner is very difficult. I think New Sheedy, actually, the way it's drawn, I think is a great chance. Great Name That was superb last week. They're all top class. Ballymac Ariel is arguably the best tracker in the country at the moment, even now. But I just think that, I don't know, whatever way it's drawn, I just have a feeling that New Sheedy could actually do it this week. Yeah,
I genuinely don't know what's going to happen. It all depends on trap rise. Just don't be surprised if one of the pitches took an absolute scalder. It's in their makeup. I just think it could happen one night. Whether it's going to be on Saturday night, I don't know. But much will depend on how Great Name That takes the opening corner. And on to the final heat, Monbeg Zinzan in 1, Swift Yard 2, Ballymac Wild in 3, Native Maestros in 4, Ballymac Cooper's out in 5, and Auxerre is out in trap in 6. And again, we're starting to sound like a broken record here, lads, but this is an unbelievable heat again. Declan, we'll go to you to see if Tommy's criticised me last time.
I think Native Maestro really will win this one. Auxerre, if he repeats last week's run, and why not, is perfectly drawn. He's going to have a go at it. Monbeg Zinzan will be coming home well. Sweet Yard will be coming home well. Ballymac Wild is reasonably well drawn, all things considered. But on what we saw last week, and it's hard to get away from the fact Native Maestro's only beaten once. That is outstanding, and he I think is the bet of the night next Saturday.
Okay, Tommy, I have a strong view, so I'll wait for you to go.
I mightn't be as strong as Declan and Native Maestro have been bet of the week, because I think that the Ballymac Wild can improve a bit. Will probably go up just as strong from the centre. I thought it would finish 3, 4, 6 in some combination of that. That's where I'd see it most likely. I'd nearly take a chance that Ballymac Wild might just be able to hold up Native Maestro. There wasn't much in it going to the bend the last day. Ballymacwile looked like he'd step up from it. We know he has form at the very, very top level. He's capable right at the very top level. He's capable of that. Nathan Maestro has to show that on a consistent level. I don't mean a consistent level. He hasn't had the opportunity to do that. He has to show that he can do it as well as Ballymacwile can. I take a small chance that Ballymacwile might just, because I'd expect Ballymacwile to quite comfortably lead the two on the inside. I think Ballymacwile will get a great run. In fact, it's probably the perfect makeup for Ballymacwile. So I take a chance that he'll reverse form with Nathan Maestro.
Great minds think alike, Tommy. I'm with you. I think Ballymacwile, the two himself and Native Maestro, if the splits are to be believed, both did 340 to the night. Native Maestro, let's say, took 6 spots off him into the corner because he wasn't quite the full length ahead. Ballymacwile did force a slightly check. If they are, shoulder to shoulder going into the opening corner, there's no guarantee that Native Maestro is going to get around them on this occasion. I think Ballymacwile likely to lead, but actually nearly certain to lead up 1 and 2 if he hits the lid. And I think he does have the perfect makeup. And I agree with you. I think they'll finish 3, 4, 6 probably in that order. But another cracking heat to look forward to. 4 heats of the Easter Cup to look forward to at Shelbourne Park on Saturday night. Before we go, lads, we are going to spend just a few minutes to briefly look back on the Juvenile Classic at the league. It seems safe to say that we'll be talking about these greyhounds for quite some time. There were some exceptional performances from start to finish. The opening heats were won by Broadstrand Ryan. He did 29.18. It was clear then that the track was well back. They raced at 60 slow. He himself lost ground in running. I'm really impressed by the way he won. Sing Along Sally, the fastest run of the night, 28.95. But from start to finish, some really, really exceptional performances. Declan, anything that caught your eye?
The last winner. Bombardier.
Bombardier, yeah.
Superb. Absolutely superb. Look, he's only had 2 or 3 races. He could go out the next round. These things happen, but he is a prospect. And what I love to see with dogs is when they're in a mix early on, they get about a length clear and then they suddenly accelerate. They go. And the track, I was at Shelbourne obviously, but watching on the screen, the night seemed to be getting worse and worse as it went on in Tralee. So I wouldn't mind the clock too much. He was fierce impressive. But so many good ones. Sing Along Sally was brilliant. Broadstone Ryan. Greg's Jack will improve. Barney of Merlin. They're all good, but you asked me straight off what did impress me, and I have to say the last winners. Bombardier. He was absolutely superb.
Is it Bombardier or is it Bombardier? Bombardier. I'm not sure.
Is it a form of bus? They don't like buses. They make airplanes.
You know, Declan, you're longer than us, Tommy, what do you think? There's some unbelievable performance to start to finish. Yeah. Obviously, there was a couple in defeat as well that really caught the eye. One of the Ballymac dogs, certainly Ballymac Bell, really caught the eye, yeah.
That was a huge run, actually. That was about 7 or 8 things behind. And you know what? I thought watching it, that it was quite difficult to come from behind. And there were dogs kind of tucked in behind that you looked while you're watching the race going, they just don't seem to be able to find the space to get around. So I was interested, obviously, Johnny Linehan having the first winner, Broadstrand Ryan. You said he got held up a couple of times or whatever. I'm dying to see him again. I'll tell you why. I don't think there was anything that really held him up apart from maybe himself, in the sense that his turn of pace from the last bend to the escape, the pace he showed was ridiculous. The type that maybe he's just a 600-yard dog, or maybe further. I might be harsh. It's the first run. You're not going to be dogmatic about the dog's style of race.
He's by one of the great ones, Ballymac Esky. So the strength there. There's no question.
Oh, good God, Doyle, what he he tracked. A lot of dogs actually track the inside, with a couple of exceptions, obviously. A lot of dogs track particularly well along the inside, stuck to the rails really tightly, and were hard to dislodge. He benefited from being able to hold the inside well, and I'm not trying to take anything away from the performance, because I was wowed by what he did from the last bend. He just took off like an airplane. Now, I don't know what was behind him, but 29.18 was a pretty good run on the night. I don't know, maybe next week we'll see whether he's a 5-5-yard dog or not, but he looks an exceptionally fast greyhound. The trip, I don't know. Greg's Jack was pretty good, beating Ballyhimkin by a wide margin. Zoom ran well, but Ballymac Bell, who finished second, showed incredible finishing pace. I obviously a bit like Declan, I was taken with the last winner, Bombardier, however you want to pronounce it. He had class all over the race. You know what I mean? It wasn't that he just picked up from halfway, or he showed it absolutely everywhere. I think that's a pretty good start to the competition, I have to say. It looked pretty strong this year.
Yeah, there was greyhounds that went out or bred in the purple that have fast trials that you'll be looking back in 6 months' time going, wow, didn't realise that was in the stake. You know, Jet Sydney ran in it last year without, you know, okay, he wasn't knocked out in the early rounds, but he did produce, you know, far better form after it. So, you know, dogs that are in it that haven't shown as much as perhaps some of the winners we were after stating will certainly improve for it. But like that, I was very impressed with Broadstone Ryan. Sing Along Sally, she did do the fastest time. I remember she did a 28:44 qualifying trial in Shelbourne Park for Pat Buckley, and I remember speaking to him about it, and he was shocked. And she had very little done with her, and he's always thought she was a bit of a superstar. Ever since that point, I think he'd already sort of had a fair inkling of it, but he's always told me she was a bit special. She certainly looked at it tonight. I'll tell you what, though, she has an awful draw the next night. You know, consider how tight she was to the fence. I think she's out 4 or 5 the next night against a couple of hot ones. So I don't know, she may even go out. That's how bad the draw is. But, you know, even Ballymac Merlin, Zafiro showed pace in the feet, of course, another one of the Ballymac Razzles, the Bombardier. Just from start to finish, it's a great competition, and it's one that will really develop in the next couple of weeks. And I'm sure, I'm absolutely certain that a classic winner will emerge.
Yeah, I think what I was saying, Ian, about the fact that like some of the dogs didn't seem to know where they were going, and just obviously lack of experience in one run. Burgess Glengar looked the type of dog actually just had in mind. He behind Good Cody. Good Cody ran a cracking race. Burgess Glengar got tucked in behind, and he just threw out the race. You're thinking, okay, now he's ready to go. Now he's ready to go, and just couldn't. And I just wouldn't be surprised. It could be Burgess Glengar, it could be any of the dogs that finished in behind in those races. You might see different greyhounds with a bit of experience, but I'd be pretty excited by what I've seen. So I absolutely agree with you. There'll be classic winners in that competition.
Yeah, Declan, we look forward to seeing them again in the future.
Some of the best ones might have gone out, you know, and we can go back to the time when all trials were after racing. So every dog racing was used to running under lights. You know, sometimes some nights you can see them looking around.
You're showing your age again now, Declan, you know that.
and if you see the horse racing at Dundalk, watch that. Some horses, you can just see them, they don't know where they are. First time out, next time they can show massive improvement. But going back to Sing Along Sally, yeah, it was a brilliant performance. But we don't know whether she loved the rail, but whether she needs it all the time, that remains to be seen.
Yeah.
And that could change with experience, with a few races under her belt too. That could change. But it was very, very impressive. Sure.
Yeah. The beauty is, lads, we'll get to see them all again on Friday night, and of course we have that Easter Cup to look forward to on Saturday night. Of course, we also must mention the Rural Hawaii Stake down in Clonmel. Some real stars in that. I was particularly enamoured by one greyhound that actually went out the other night. I think the Rural Star Dog is one to keep an eye on in the future. I think he's an absolute superstar in the making. But that's it for us to say, except we have to say thank you to Declan. Thank you to the Exile Dub. Tommy will talk to you next week. Declan, I'm sure we'll be talking to you again very soon. Enjoy enjoy the sort of almost guilty pleasure that you get being allowed into Shelbourne Park without a dog at the end of the lead, because there's plenty to look forward to in the coming week. But that's it from us today on Talking Dogs on Monday. Join us next week for more, where we'll be discussing all action regarding the Easter Cup, and of course we'll be taking another look back at the Juvenile Classic. That's it for tonight. Stay lucky.